getting it, no?
Yeah, it's getting there. You know what, Ken?
Height, put a little higher up. On the back. Put it on the back. It is low afternoon sun.
If we can make the grill even more out of focus.
Tomorrow morning, bright and early.
What?
He's leaving. Expected time is 8.
Day after.
I mean, sorry, day after.
Huh? It's there, somewhere there. Over here, I think this one. Yeah, so we got to take tomorrow.
Lovely weather, so feeling great. We're doing a mountain shot through a grill. We're cheating.
Oh,
like,
what is cheating?
all
Man?
filmmaking is all about cheating. Yeah, it's not a documentary film, it's fiction.
Ritu and I have been making films on Tibet for a long time, documentary films. But we've always felt that there was a need to address the contemporary reality of Tibetans, particularly in exile, particularly as it affects people like me, first generation Tibetans born and brought up in exile. So we really wanted to make a film that would touch upon these issues of what it means to be a Tibetan at this point in time.
Dreaming Lhasa.
Dreaming Lhasa.
We had in this moment before.
There's so many Lhasas in the movie, like Lhasa Guest House, Lhasa Travel.
Dreaming Lhasa.
You know, so, and like, that's why I want that sign up at the end, also, little, welcome to Little Lhasa. Because it's kind of like, this is the fake Lhasa, it's not the real Lhasa.
You know, the more I learn about Tibet, the more I feel like a complete stranger.
You can't say that, Karma. I'm Tibetan, you are Tibetan, and we all are Tibetan.
For Karma's role, we basically advertised amongst the Tibetan community and put it out, put a casting call out in all the Tibetan websites. And we had a few serious applicants, and we went and we auditioned them. And Tenzing was the best. She normally works as a banker near Washington, D.C. And she took 3 months off her job and came to Dharamsala and worked on the film. So it was quite, in a sense, it was quite very much like the character she plays, because she was very, very foreign here.
I wasn't born in the States, but I moved there when I was so young. So I was raised there. Not from New York, but I think Karma and I are alike in certain ways. She's a little more against the mainstream than I am, but I can relate to her.
In Dharamsala, we were casting for the character of Jigme, and we must have got, I guess, over 100, applicants for Jigme's role.
Yeah.
And Jigme turned out to be the best of the lot.
Don't you like slow dancing?
I haven't danced like this since I was in high school.
You have to come closer, otherwise there's no point. The first thing, like when Tenzing told me the story, it's, in a way, it's really like me. I mean, like, talking about a guy who dropped school, then he said, like, he went to Goa and like that. I did that. For me, it's like real, not exactly me, but I can relate to this character a lot, which means I don't have to act, but I can just be myself. With my friend, I don't know which bar and who.
Angela, tingay kiran lapo kaisna, tangonga nilam chitenchu.
Well, Tundup has acted before. He's one of the few characters in our film who's actually acted before, and we had a friend of ours audition him.
Our character in the film, Tundup, had to be kind of like in his early 40s, really. And Chamba, who plays Tundup in the film, is actually in his late 30s. And we took that chance, and it was a gamble that really paid off.
Did you sleep well?
Shungao Shuchini session. Kuni Kutumaso. Sambal Dam the Koringi.
Jenna.
Himari.
Shunabla, Yabu Kuswan.
Mafu Shuchini session. I've heard about this movie quite long time back, at least about 3 years back, and of course they seem to have worked on it for a long time. They wrote the story, they seem to know the story very well, and they know what they're doing. Yeah, in some ways I can relate to this character Thendu. I understand him pretty well, but then at the same time, like the way I am normally, the kind of experience that I've lived through in my life, Thendu is quite different.
I'm standing on the corner of the streets and vine. I'm standing on the corner of the streets and wine. With my Kansas City baby and a bottle of Kansas City wine. Go on, Jagan.
One of our biggest worries really before we started this film was how were we going to interact with the actors, how were we going to actually direct actors, because we'd never done that before. And especially these were actors, they were all non-professional actors on top of that, so obviously that would make it even more difficult. So one of the things we did was to bring up this person, Barry John, who's a very well-known theatre director in Delhi, who's had experience doing film workshops for non-professionals.
Now you see, now you can do something new. Get Buddha. Now maybe you don't need to touch only one person. I could be touching him and him and him.
Now, if that's the shot, right?
Yeah.
He hands the photo to her, so it goes out of the frame now, that?
No, we can't wait. We'll have that shot and then we'll have the track at the back.
Well, we have worked together on films for many years, so we instinctively have an idea of where our strengths are. So for instance, I wrote the script, Ritu produced the film, but when it came to directing the film, it was really like a collaborative effort. What we did was, with the script, we kind of consulted each other on the script all through the writing phase, and once we had locked the script, we broke the script down we did the shot breakdown, and we really discussed each shot in great detail, and then we storyboarded all the shots. So we had a very good idea of which angle we wanted, how we were going to shoot each scene. So by the time we were ready to actually shoot the film, we had kind of worked it out in our heads how we wanted things to be.
Occasionally we had, some differences on, do you want this shot? Or, I think it's going to work better from this angle, and he thought that angle. And if we could afford it, the time and the stock, we would shoot both. And, we'll see what comes in later during the edit. And normally what also happens with Tenzing and me is that if one wants it much more than the other and feels much more strongly about it, then the other lets go. So, we've worked that out over the years. Good, very good. So we got to the point where we had actually rehearsed each scene maybe 3 times, and we shot a lot of the scenes on video, and sometimes we even edited them and showed them back to the actors. The cameraman, the lighting crew, the production designer, the sound people were basically from the Indian documentary scene, because that was what we were familiar with. And the production people were mainly Tibetans, most of whom had no experience before. So we put together quite an interesting group of people, and it's a very low budget film, so really a lot of them didn't have very much experience. But they all had their heart in it, so that was very important. It was like a family.
చూసి అక్కర్లే 하고서
비와서 뭐 뒤지나
네가 뒤지 주지 리서리
Thank you, Chief Guest.
I think our first biggest problem was
Jigme,
Jigme and his
cracking
knee.
kneecap.
That was shocking. But now the way we've adapted to it as well, he's just a guy who's
Got a limp.
the attitude. And so next problem was a camera test bad. So we've solved that by, well, Alphonse has gone to England to fix the camera and he's fixed it and is coming back, so that's sorted. Then we had minor problems like leading lady had a stomach upset, now she's lost weight.
We are just wondering how we can fit everything properly now. Again, reschedule the locations and everything. So there's a major change because of weather, you know. There's going to be rain next 2 days.
How you feel now that shoot is only 2 days?
That's a documentary film is all about.
I'm not thinking about it at all, Tsering. Just going with it, we're going with the flow.
This is it. This is it. Yep. Yep.
Good morning, how are you? Very busy, very important work to do now.
what are the
Very excited. Yeah.
Amazing, no? Amazing to finally see. After 4 years,
yeah.
to see this all happening.
And we're going to light this one also then. And
Okay, hold on 1 second. Bitu is like. No, not ready. You have to put a light.
Scene 57, shot 6, take 2, roll camera.
Action.
선배 처음 말랐어. 그래 가시 선배 중요해요. 콘서 까를 마시고 오네.
For Tenzing and me, working with a large crew and a lot of actors, I think about 50 people in all, was also quite difficult because it was not what we were used to. We were used to working in small documentary groups.